Welcome to Saving the Investor, where your money matters. I'm Alfie Townsend, and your retirement success is my business. Coming up on today's show,
validating your retirement plan, understanding minimum distributions, rebalancing your portfolio, and much more.
Welcome to Saving the Investor with certified financial planner, investment advisor, and insurance professional Alfie Townsend, president of Advantage Retirement Group. Alfie is a published author, radio show host, speaker, and industry leader.
Why do you use an annuity? A lot of people use it for the wrong thing.
He works with retirees and pre-retirees to build and protect their nest egg and offers his experience to help those concerned about financial independence in retirement. If you've got questions about retirement, Saving the Investor starts now.
Welcome to Coffee with the Coach. Back in 1983, that's when I started my career in the insurance business. That's how I started. Then I got into my certified financial planning and the financial side. But when I first got in the business, after about a year or so, my sister got married to David, a great person. And he was a diabetic, and it was juvenile diabetes. But then they had my nephew, David, who works for us now. And then they had Candace. So now they had two young kids. And I said, David, you need to get insurance, life insurance. Oh, I don't really need insurance. I said, you do need life insurance because something happens to you. Then you have two kids and my sister. And I finally convinced them to get life insurance. And he did. And it was hard because he was a diabetic, but we were able to get him insured. 2 years later, he passed away. And that was devastating. My sister was 33 years old at the time. He was 42. He died of lung cancer, non-smoker. He had diabetes, but he died of lung cancer, of all things. Then, again, he had a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. My sister was able to continue to, she was a nurse. She was able to continue to keep the kids because of the life insurance in the Catholic school that they were going to, the private school, and she was able to go to school and to get her degree as a nurse practitioner. And if it wasn't for that insurance, that family would have been torn apart. So when I do planning, I make sure that I look at your whole picture. I look at if you want to have a legacy to pass on to your grandchildren or your children. I look at your income plan. I look at your finances, I look at your portfolios. I want to make sure you're not taking unnecessary risks. As a certified financial planner, I have to look at the whole picture. And that's what a certified financial planner does. I always say I'm like the quarterback for your team, because I'm going to make sure that we have an elder law attorney that would help you if that's what we need, a state attorney, the CPA. But my job is to look at your whole plan and put a plan in place to make sure that you have a nice retirement plan in place, so if something devastating, unforeseen happens, you're going to be just fine. So give us a call. Thank you.
You are watching Saving the Investor, where your money matters.
It's no secret, an enjoyable retirement does not include running out of money. Saving money for retirement is one thing, but making it last a lifetime is another. When people who are retired or soon to be retired meet with Alfie for the first time, often they have a plan for growth, but what they really need is a plan for predictable income. To achieve financial independence, you need a clearly defined retirement plan. To validate your current plan or to put one in place, be one of the first 5 callers to receive a complimentary retirement review with Alfie. This includes an analysis that sorts through your current advisor fees, a plan to guard your investments, and a customized income plan to create predictable lifetime income. Remember, this retirement review is completely complimentary. There's no obligation or cost. What are you waiting for? Call now.
You are watching Saving the Investor, where your money matters.
Welcome to Ask Alfie. This segment is where you submit your questions to the coach, and he's here in studio to answer. Coach Alfie Townsend, great to see you today.
Hey, it's always great to be here.
Well, our first question comes in and it says, I have to start taking my required minimum distributions this year, and I have 3 different IRAs. Should I take some money from each account or take it all from one?
You know, that's a fantastic question, because what happens is this. Usually if you have 2 or 3 IRAs, you can, most of the times people take it from each one. But the problem is, if one doesn't send it to you, let's say you're supposed to take $5,000 and that institution did not send it to you, it's a 50% penalty on what you should have taken that you didn't take. So what we like to do is consolidate them into one IRA, okay? And then your minimum distributions are taken care of from one instead of having it to go through 3. The only advantage is to have more than one is if you do have 2 or 3, what I would do is take it out of the one that's giving you the least amount of interest. Okay, you take it out of that one that represents all of them. So if you had $500,000 and it's divided into 3, and you have to take $500,000 from your required minimum distribution. So as long as you take enough out of one to satisfy the total, you're going to be just fine. So you take it out of the one that has the least amount of earnings, okay? And then, but again, we used to do these workshops in Maryland, and we had an elder law attorney that was one of the best in the country. And he would come up on stage with me and he would tell people, one thing that you want to do and when you retire is consolidate those IRAs, because of the fact that you could have that 50% penalty. But consolidation is something I would
That's a great point. And I know the question says required. Maybe there's some people that are watching that just retired last year.
Yeah.
Maybe you can explain, what is a required minimum? Why is there a required minimum, and what does it consist of?
Well, what happens, John, your money is deferring for all these years. The government says, okay, you're going to be able to write this money off that you put in while you're working, but you can defer it. So you're not going to pay you're going to get a deduction. You're not going to pay any tax on this money until you take it out. And you have to take it out when you turn 70 and a half. Okay? So once
people just automatically know that, or they're advised
well,
of that?
people have a pretty good idea that they have to take money out, but they think it's 70. Sometimes they think it's 69. It's 70 and a half. And so what happens is once you take your money out, then there's a percent that you have to take out. And the government gives us 27 years really to take it out. And there's money in there until you're 115.
Okay.
And when I first got in the business, John, early on in the early 80s, it was a 16-year payout. 16 years. That means you had to take this money out by 86. It was all gone. Well, here the government allows you to really leave it in a little bit over 100 years old. So you have to take money out, and it gets more and more each year. So the older you get, the more you have to take out.
Okay, great point. Well, I've heard you talk about annuities as a safe place for your money. What exactly makes an annuity safe? Aren't you still just relying on the company to come through for you? And how is that any different from just buying stock in a company?
Well, that's a good point. So the annuity has different layers of protection. If it's a fixed annuity, it has the legal reserve of the company, it has reinsurers, and it has state guarantee funds. So they're insured differently. They're not FDIC, but they're insured through the state, and all the insurance companies have to pay into the state fund to make sure that it stays solvent. Okay. So safety-wise, you're good there. But annuities are safe and they are good investments for some people, but not everybody should have an annuity. If you came in to see me, John, and you had a large pension and your income was taken care of, you probably wouldn't want one of these, because annuities I use are mostly geared to take income, because if you want it to pass on to your heirs, I'm going to use another vehicle that we use that's insurance based, but I'll tell you what, when it passes on, it's tax free. Tax free is the best way to pass money on that you can ever imagine to your heirs. So if you're trying to grow your wealth for your heirs, I'm going to use something else other than an annuity.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Coach, for answering those questions. And if you want your question asked on the air, you could submit it through the website, savingtheinvestor.com. And that's savingtheinvestor.com. You owe it to yourself to make an appointment and meet with Coach Alfie. You can call that number appearing on the screen, and he'll sit down with you and examine what you have, answer all your questions, and make recommendations that are beneficial to you well into your retirement years. We want you to stay tuned. Don't go away. Retirement Talk is coming up next, so stay tuned.
Wall Street, the bears, the bulls, natural disasters, inflation, the Fed, gold prices, wars, fuel costs, world markets, currency values. It can all be so confusing. I'm Craig Wolf. So many uncertainties in today's headlines can make investing a challenge, but it doesn't have to be. If you're retired or nearly retired, this news is for you. I'm here with financial coach Alfie Townsend. Alfie, in this media-driven, crazy world of too much information, how do your customers cut through the fog of investing?
Well, let's talk about emotion. What that does, it robs people of their returns. When the market goes up, they get all excited. When the market goes down, they start to sell. And they do exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
How do you take the emotion out of the market for your customers?
We're going to expose what's inside their portfolio with doing what we call a financial MRI. It's going to show them their hidden fees. It's going to show them their returns. It's going to tell you how diversified you are, and most of all, if you're taking undue risk. I'm going to show you how to reduce your risk and either keep the return the same or even increase it in some cases.
What is the most important thing people need to know about their portfolio?
Allocation. It's 91.5% of the performance of anybody's portfolio is how it's allocated.
My dad had a pension and his employer handled everything.
Craig, those days are long gone. What you have to do these days is make sure you have a lifetime income that will last your lifetime and your spouse's lifetime, and we put a written comprehensive lifetime income plan in place. People are living longer. They work 20, 30, 40 years, and then the next day they retire. And if you get that second part wrong, you're going to have to go back to work, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Thank you, Alfie. To get your complimentary financial MRI and your comprehensive lifetime income plan, call Alfie now at 561-1155. Your financial future is too important to put off.
You are watching Saving the Investor, where your money matters.
And Jerry, what is your question for Alfie?
How wise would it be to depend on an inheritance as part of a retirement plan? I know I will receive some good chunk of money as a retirement from a relative of mine, unless, God forbid, something goes drastically wrong. And that should be sufficient to live our lives later on as we age. But I don't want to depend on that so much. But in the meantime, I don't want to save so much now that I'm not enjoying life as much as I should. And later on, end up with funds that I can't use because I'm too old. What's your take on this one?
So Jerry, it sounds like you're getting an inheritance. Okay, David, we run into people that either already got their inheritance and they want to use that money because they inherited. They want to make sure they're spending it, with purpose.
Sure.
And then there's people, and Jerry, it sounds like that you want to increase your income. To me, it sounds like you might want to increase income, or your concern is to take care of you and your spouse, not so much pass it on. So there's things we can do because everyone's different. So if your concern is a legacy to pass on, there's things we can do there. Or if your concern is, hey, I want to increase, I want to spend with confidence. And so there's vehicles out there that we can help you with, Jerry, that you can spend with confidence, and whatever's left gets passed on, but there's nothing left. It's not the end of the world because you have lifetime income. So there's vehicles out there for different situations. So if you're in a situation that you're going to get the inheritance and know when you're going to get it, come on in. If you don't know when you're going to get it, what we can do is put different scenarios. If you get it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and then we can show you a plan that makes sense to you and your family. Hope that helps you, Jerry.
You are watching Saving the Investor, where your money matters.
It is no secret, an enjoyable retirement does not include running out of money. Saving money for retirement is one thing, but making it last a lifetime is another. When people who are retired or soon to be retired come to our office for the first time, often they have a plan for growth, but what they really need is a plan for predictable income and protection. To achieve financial independence, you need a clearly defined retirement plan. To validate your current plan or to put one in place, call me. Be one of the first 5 callers and receive a complimentary retirement review and planning kit, which includes an analysis that sorts through your current advisor fees, a plan to guard your investments in any economy, and a customized income plan that will create a predictable lifetime income. Remember, this retirement review and planning kit is completely complimentary. There's no obligation or costs. What are you waiting for? Call now.
You are watching Saving the Investor, where your money matters.
Welcome to Quiz the Coach. This is where Coach Alfie Townsend addresses some misconceptions that are out there in the marketplace that you may have heard through magazines or internet. And Alfie's going to talk about some of them. We're going to talk about true and false if these scenarios fit what you're thinking, and the coach is going to answer them. And it's so great to be in studio with Coach Alfie Townsend. Great to see you.
And they might have heard some of these on the golf course too.
Sure, a lot of people want to give advice all the time.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of advice. We put these questions together and just say, okay, let's find out the true, false, or it might be right.
Yeah.
It might be where part of them are both right.
Yeah, because a lot of people hear a lot of different opinions and a lot of confusion sets
Yeah.
in. So you're here to sort of like help people navigate through that fog of investing
Yes.
that's out there. So the first one is a lot of people think rebalancing a portfolio is a bad idea and causes excessive fees. Is that something that would be true?
Well, I would say that one's false, but there is some truth to it also.
Okay.
Okay, because it's false because as you're rebalancing the portfolio, it reduces risk. That's why you rebalance. That
Okay.
you're selling things that are moving up in value. You want to take off that profit and buy things that are moving down. So that's what rebalancing is, to keep you in the same type of your risk tolerant.
Okay.
But on the other hand, if you're doing it yourself, it could be very expensive because you're having to buy things. Now, if you're doing it yourself with cash on hand and you're just saying, "Oh, I'm going to put more cash in to buy what went down," to make it up to what's moving, then that could be very expensive. But that's the best way to do is have a big company. That's what we do. We're gonna take our fund managers. They're going to take money coming into that fund, and they're going to buy what goes down that day, and they're going to sell if things get if it increases too much. And then that way you're not buying and selling your stuff to increase the cost of rebalancing a portfolio. So it's better to have an expert do it than you do it yourself.
Okay, if somebody does it themselves, why does it cost more than the way that you do it?
Well, because then they're going to be having to sell their stuff. That was things that moved up. Let's say the equities moved up 10%. Now they have to sell off 10% of equity and to buy 10% of bonds and to sell. And it could be taxable events. It could be taxes that they incur taxes on that money. There could be short-term, long-term capital gains. There's a lot of things that could come into play by them doing it themselves.
So there's costs if they do it, but there's no cost in the way that you do it.
Yeah, the way that we do it is very cost efficient, big
Okay.
time, because it's with new money coming into the fund, they're doing it that way, John.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, let's look at this next one. It says an employed individual making contributions into a 401k is not allowed to roll over money to an IRA while they are still employed. Is that true or false statement?
That could be both also. If they're a certain age or they haven't been there enough, or it's not in their bylaws of the 401k. Some companies don't allow 401k rollovers, but majority of them out there will allow you to do a 401k rollover. So if you're at work and you have a 401k and you're over a certain age, usually 59 and a half, you're allowed to take that IRA, that 401k, majority of that money, and roll it over into your own IRA, and it will be a tax-free rollover, and that way you can control it on your end, opposed to having it stay in the 401k. That's typically, that's a little bit costly, and they only have a certain amount of funds to pick from.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier to have it on your side, but the question is, are you allowed to do it? You are allowed to do it if the bylaws of the 401k allows you to do it. And about 80% of the time, you are allowed to do in-service withdrawals, it's called. In-service withdrawals.
Okay, and talking about rollover, there's a lot of our viewers that could be watching right now that worked at a place for 5 or 7 years, worked at another company for 5 or 7 years, that might have their 401k still there, that don't know that they can roll it over. Can they move that money from their previous employer into an IRA? That's something you handle.
That's a good point, because what happens, that money is sitting at their old place where they used to work, not really being watched. You definitely want to take that money and roll it into your own IRA, and that's what we do at the Advanced Retirement Group. We can roll it into your IRA and put a plan in place for you at that time.
Okay, great. Well, we had 2 truths and falses, and we'll get to this next time on the Quiz the Coach.
Okay.
So you owe it to yourself to get a second opinion. Give Alfie Townsend a call. You can meet with him in Fort Myers or Naples. 2 beautiful offices. He can examine your portfolio from the inside out. He'll be a second set of eyes that will really help you treat your wealth like your health. You want to get a second opinion. You want to make sure that you're setting sail towards retirement so that you can have an income plan in place that Alfie will help you formulate for you. Stay tuned. There's going to be more talk on retirement coming up. Don't go away.
You are watching Saving the Investor, where your money matters.
All callers in the next 15 minutes will receive an easy-to-understand plan to show where you are now and what you could be doing going forward. We'll also run a free report to untangle your hidden cost of what you're paying for those mutual funds, annuities, and advisor fees. It's much better to keep your hard-earned money in your pocket rather than theirs. You'll also receive a brief tax analysis to show where you might reduce taxes. Last but not least, we'll put an income plan together which will take the guesswork out of retirement. This is a complete financial MRI review. So pick up the phone and call now.
You are watching Saving the Investor, where your money matters.
Today's tip of the day is called validate your plan. Now, what does validate your plan mean? I'm going to give you an example. I play golf, and every Saturday I play with the same group of guys, and what we do is we'll have little side bets, and especially on par threes, we call it closest to the hole. So who's ever closest to the hole has to validate to win that, they have to either 1-putt or 2-putt, and then they validate it. If they 3-putt, that means they don't win that hole. So the same thing goes on with your retirement plan. Have you ever had your plan validated? It's important to have it validated. Do you know what your fees are? Do you know if you're taking too much risk? Do you have a written income plan in place? Just because you've had the same advisor for 10, 20, even 30 years, and you never had a second opinion, does that mean your plan's validated? No, go ahead and get it validated. There's nothing wrong with that. If you were sick and your doctor told you you're going to have surgery, the first thing I would do is say, you know what, I want to get a second opinion. That's a validation. You're validating your first doctor, and if that second doctor says, hey, you're in good, you do need surgery, then your plan's validated. Same thing goes with the retirement plan. If your plan is not validated or has never been validated, it's time to look at it. We'll look at your fees, but not just fees. Fees will rob you of your returns, but we're also going to look at you're going to look at your volatility. Most people, after we validate their plan, they're taking on an average of 30% more risk than they really need to take in order to get the return that they're getting. So what I say to everyone, all of our viewers and really our listeners on our radio, they always give us a call to get their plan validated, because retirement people are living longer and longer, and if your plan is in good shape, you'll know, and if it's not, then we can help you with that.
Wall Street, the bears, the bulls, natural disasters, inflation, the Fed, gold prices, wars, fuel costs, world markets, currency values. It can all be so confusing. I'm Craig Wolf. So many uncertainties in today's headlines can make investing a challenge, but it doesn't have to be. If you're retired or nearly retired, this news is for you. I'm here with financial coach Alfie Townsend. Alfie, in this media-driven, crazy world of too much information, how do your customers cut through the fog of investing?
Well, let's talk about emotion. What that does, it robs people of their returns. When the market goes up, they get all excited. When the market goes down, they start to sell. And they do exactly the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
How do you take the emotion out of the market for your customers?
We're going to expose what's inside their portfolio with doing what we call a financial MRI. It's going to show them their hidden fees. It's going to show them their returns. It's going to tell you how diversified you are, and most of all, if you're taking undue risk. I'm going to show you how to reduce your risk and either keep the return the same or even increase it in some cases.
What is the most important thing people need to know about their portfolio?
Allocation. It's 91.5% of the performance of anybody's portfolio is how it's allocated.
My dad had a pension and his employer handled everything.
Craig, those days are long gone. What you have to do these days is make sure you have a lifetime income that will last your lifetime and your spouse's lifetime, and we put a written comprehensive lifetime income plan in place. People are living longer. They work 20, 30, 40 years, and then the next day they retire. And if you get that second part wrong, you're going to have to go back to work, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Thank you, Alfie. To get your complimentary financial MRI and your comprehensive lifetime income plan, call Alfie now at 561-1155. Your financial future is too important to put off.
Robin Stuckey knows that every day is special, and your lifestyle is a reflection of you. Exclusive home furnishings, brilliant interior design, and legendary service has made Robin Stuckey the most prestigious name in beautiful interiors for over 100 years. Discover Robin Stuckey, where it's easy to live life beautifully. Save 40% off sofas, sleepers, and sectionals during our living room event.
I'm Arda Boyer, and welcome to Mondo Uomo. 24 years ago, I started this business with the intent to bring the finest menswear to Naples, Florida. We have achieved that not only with the products we carry, but also, and more importantly, with the service we offer, providing you the quickest and finest alterations available in town to delivery of your items to your home. Let's not forget the designers that we bring to you. Come visit us here at the Village on Venetian Bay.